So hi everyone, my name is Evelyn Alanis. I'm one of the professional counselors here with McAllen ISD, and I came to talk to you about mental health and how we can implement coping skills so that we can remain mentally healthy, especially during these really difficult times, a pandemic. So first of all, let's define mental health. It's a person's emotional, physical, and psychological well-being. And it's so important because our mental health is going to affect how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also is going to help determine how we handle stressful situations, how we relate to other people, and ultimately how we make choices. So what can we do to promote our mental health, especially during a pandemic? First of all, the first coping skill that I want to talk about is staying connected. There are so many ways that we can stay connected even while we're socially distancing, right? So a few of the options that I have written here, and there's so many more other ones, but we can always, if you're doing virtual learning, you can participate in class when you can. And if you are going to in-person school already, then, just participating in class, being present. You can always schedule video calls with family and friends. That's so important. Maybe every Wednesday at 5 o'clock, you're going to talk to your best friend. And doing acts of kindness is also a really great way to stay connected with other people. It just makes us feel better when we are kind to other people. And so a lot of different ways that we can do acts of kindness is by doing our chores at home, or by writing a letter and sending it to a friend, a family member, or even to someone we live in the house with. We can always write a letter to them, and that's really, really sweet, and it's a really great act of kindness. You can also write a good morning text to your best friend every morning, or send them a positive quote. All of those things count as acts of kindness, right? You can also join or create an online book club, which is similar to watching a TV show with a friend. Like, you can be in your own home watching a Netflix show, and it's something that you discuss, or you can read the same book and you can discuss it with them. And that's a really great way to stay connected with people. Another coping skill is creating a routine. Making a routine can reduce stress, right? We encounter stress every day in our lives, whether, I lost my hairbrush, or I can't find my keys, whatever it is, those little things all add stress. And so by creating a routine, we can help reduce our stress. And when I say routine, I don't mean like, schedule in every minute of your day. I usually prefer like skeleton routines, right? And I have an example of a skeleton routine. So like every morning, I'm usually going to eat breakfast. I'm not going to set a time for it. Just whenever I wake up, I'm going to log into my classroom or check my email, whatever it is that you do in the morning. And then in the afternoon, after school, I'm going to, be active, do something that may be considered exercise, or just where I'm like moving my body. I'm going to clean, eat lunch, or eat like a snack. And then for evening, I'm going to do my homework, get back to like studies. I'm going to do a fun activity if I like to paint, or, create something, have dinner, and then do like my bedtime routine where I'm going to shower, brush my teeth, and read a book or do something relaxing, right? And it's going to look similar to this most days. It doesn't have to be exactly the way it's written, but, just kind of having like a skeleton routine, right? Just something that we can kind of go by off by every day. And this is going to help reduce, stress. Another one that's so, so important is getting good sleep. A lot of the times we underestimate the importance of sleep. I used to work with a psychiatrist who, before he would prescribe medication, he would wait a week or two, have the individual get a good like routine sleep schedule. And then once they had a good routine schedule down, we would see what their issues were. And then he would prescribe medication. Because, not getting good sleep can really affect how we do, if I don't get good sleep, we're going to be irritable. We're getting things that usually don't annoy us are going to annoy us. We're not going to think as sharply. We're going to be kind of groggy. And so a good night's sleep usually comes at night, right? Well, in the night when the day is darkest. So if you go to sleep at the same time every night and wake up around the same time every day, that's, eventually you're going to get to a good night's sleep. And I know there's like issues where, some people just have a harder time sleeping, and that's okay. There's things that we can do to help get a good night's sleep. And we'll talk a little bit about those skills in a little bit. But it's so important. And, if that means you have to leave your phone in the kitchen or in another room, it's important that you do that, because sometimes our phones can get in the way of a good night's sleep, right? We're scrolling through it and, next thing we know, it's 2:00 in the morning. And so putting that aside, doing some deep breathing exercises, you can listen to relaxing music, just make sure you're not seeing the light on your screen. That's really important to help get a good night's sleep. And the fourth one is getting your body moving. Most people will say exercise. I don't like saying exercise because it's going to look different for everyone, right? Some people love to exercise. That's great. Some people don't. But even if you don't, it's important that we move our body. And that's going to help us, be able to cope well with the stresses of every day, and especially during this pandemic, right? And so getting your body moving will be different for everyone. It could include like doing my chores, mopping the floor, or sweeping, right? That could count as moving my body. Gardening, or if I like to run, you can go run. Or if you like yoga, it's going to look different for everyone, but it's important that you do it. It helps boost our self-esteem when we're moving, and again, it kind of helps like get blood running to our brain, and so we can think a little more clearly. And so other great techniques or other great things that we can do to help promote our mental health is practicing deep breathing exercises. Deep breathing is one of the best ways to lower stress in our body. When we do deep breathing and our body relaxes, it sends signals to our brain to relax and to calm down, right? And so deep breathing, again, there's so many different ways to deep breathe. Most and the best one would be to like breathe into our stomach. Like you can put one hand on your tummy and one on your chest, and make sure that the hand that's moving is the one that's on your tummy. And that's when you're taking a deep breath. It takes less energy to move tissue and like, your stomach and your diaphragm than to move like a whole bone. And so to take a deep breath, we want to move the tissue. We can fill it up. We can fill our lungs more when we do that. And the best time to do it is when you're feeling really anxious, right? A lot of the times during this pandemic, that's something that I've heard a lot. These feelings of worry and anxiety and feeling nervous for our future or anything that could be going on. It's really important that we practice deep breathing so that we can help manage those emotions, especially when, we don't need to feel that anxiety. And so deep breathing is really important. I always recommend, it's like my number one coping skill that I recommend if you're seeing me as your therapist. Another one that's a really great, and people kind of don't pay attention to it much, is getting sunlight. Sunlight synthesizes vitamin D in our body, and the experts believe that this is a mood elevator. It makes us feel better. And so you don't have to go outside, especially in South Texas weather. It can get really hot, right? As long as you are getting sunlight like through a window, it's just so important that we get that sunlight 15 to 20 minutes a day, and that's it. And that can help really change our mood and make us feel, more energized and just better. Number 7 is getting a balanced meal. And I always like to point out that balanced meals is not just always healthy, right? It's good to eat healthy food. But, it's okay to eat our Whataburger or, our pizza, whatever, not healthy, what people consider not healthy food is. Eat that, enjoy it. Just make sure you're also eating your veggies. Because our nutrition will also play a huge role in how we feel, right? If we're only eating junk food, or if we're not eating at all, we're going to feel sluggish and slow, and we're not going to want to do anything, and our mood's just going to be down, and then we're not going to use the coping skills, and we're not going to do the things we want. And so then it's this negative cycle of unhealthy, right? And it affects our mental health. And so having a balanced meal is very important. Eating your breakfast, your morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, and if you're still hungry, having like a late night snack. And that, it's really important that we fuel our body. The 8th coping skill that I have on here is mindful meditation, or just being mindful. Mindfulness can translate to awareness. So just being aware of your emotions, your physical, like if you're having any pains or how you're feeling physically, and your environment all at once. A lot of the times, in our society, it's like a go, go, go type of mentality, and which is great to get things done, but then we forget like our body and our mental health. And so just taking a break, deep breathing, and being aware of what's going on around us is really important. And meditation falls under mindfulness, right? And there's so many ways that you can practice meditation. You can always just YouTube mindful meditation for anxiety, or mindful meditation for sleep, whatever it is that you want to target, or just mindful meditation. And there's like so many YouTube videos that you can watch that can help you start that practice. If you're a religious or a spiritual person, prayer is also a great way, and it helps with our anxiety. And if we're struggling with depression or sadness, it's a really great way to help cope with those negative or hard feelings and emotions. And number 9, temperature. This is another one of my favorites to recommend, especially if you struggle with like anxious thoughts or worries and nervousness. Using temperature is a really great way to help manage our emotions. If you're feeling like panicky, I always recommend to like grab like an ice pack, put it over your eyes or like in the back of your neck, and that helps your heart rate slow down. And that sends signals to your brain that it's okay to calm down. And so I really love to use this coping skill because it uses our biology. It's going to work 100% of the time. And other ways that you can use temperature to help manage your emotions and help with stress is, winter's coming. And so just going outside and getting like a gust of wind can be really helpful for our emotions. If you're angry, irritated, or feeling anxious, right? Just kind of getting that change of environment can be really helpful. Another thing that I recommend, if you can't go outside, or you're not feeling too horrible, but you're getting up there, just stick your face in the refrigerator or in the freezer. That can be helpful too. Taking a cool shower, or even a warm shower or a warm bubble bath. Those are really great ways to use temperature to help manage our emotions and to help cope with stress, right? Number 10 is positive affirmations. And I used to be a skeptic about these, but it's amazing how a positive quote or positive words can really play a role in how we feel and how it can change our mood if we're feeling down to, just feeling even just a little bit better. So positive words can really go a long way. The way that I always recommend this one usually is writing like sticky notes or like notes and posting them on your wall or by your door, or just like areas that you see often. If the refrigerator, your door when you're going to walk out of your room, on your phone, you can put quotes, or on your on your devices, and it can really change how we feel. It can make us feel a little better. We spend so much time, talking to ourselves in our brain, being critical and saying negative things. Oh, I'm so stupid for doing that. Oh, it's usually negative. And so when we, kind of read something positive or tell ourselves something positive, it can really, our brain's like, whoa, what just happened? And so it can really change how we're feeling and elevate our mood to feel better. And again, to cope with stress much, much better. And so this is a positive quote that I really like, and I think it's really helpful, especially during these times, is to be gentle with yourself. We're all doing the best we can, right? No one's ever lived through a pandemic, not in our times right now. And so being gentle with yourself, because we're all just doing the best we can. Be gentle with others also. So does anyone have any questions or anything that you want to talk about?
Feel free to mic on or post your questions in the chat. I know for one, I liked the part that you said about the temperature and the ice pack. I had never thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's in our biology. There's this, I don't really know, it's been a long time since I learned this, but there's a mechanism in our body called the diver's response. So like when rescue divers jump into freezing cold waters, like our blood slows down, right? And so then our heart rate slows down so that we can survive longer those freezing temperatures. And so it's kind of, by putting ice on our eyes and the back of our neck, it kind of triggers that response as if we were rescue diving. And so, you know, it's going to work 100% of the time.
Do any of you all have some, those of you who are students or maybe our hosts, have any other coping skills or that you all do? I know coloring is a big deal. I color all the time. I do not color in the lines, and it's okay. So how about you drop in the chat maybe some things that you do that maybe weren't mentioned or that were mentioned?
Something that one of my doctors told me was when you, you know, are trying to cope, that something that they learned is to, you know, breathe with one of them, but breathe, and then to take your mind off of it, try to find 3 things in the area that you're in that are the same color. So like find 3 things that are blue or, you know, whatever.
Yes, that's also one of my favorite ones. I didn't include it on this one, but it's called grounding. That one's called grounding, and we can use all our 5 senses to kind of ground ourselves into the space we're in, right? And that one would be sight, right? What are all the blue things that I can see in there? What are all the red things? And we can also use our other senses. What are the things that I feel? What can I touch? What can I hear? What are the 3 things that I'm hearing? 3 things that I can taste. All of those, it can be really helpful to kind of bring us back into the moment, right? Because when we're preoccupied with other thoughts, a lot of the times it can be negative and it can make us feel down. And so in order to kind of pull away from that is to focus on, you know, one of those things. One of the ways that I like to do that coping skill is playing I Spy, right? A lot of the times we don't remember like to do those coping skills. And so if you see that your friend is struggling, or if you're struggling, you can ask, hey, can we play I Spy? And, you know, they'll say, I spy something blue. And then you're kind of already focusing on the room, right? Everything that's blue, everything, you know, and that can be really, really helpful. So thank you for sharing that.
And like I also play with my dog because like I know like animals or like people who own pets, like the pets, like dogs or cats, like they feel like what their owner feels.
Yes, dogs, pets are just a really, really wonderful way to help with our emotions. They're our best friends. They're going to love us unconditionally, and they're going to sit there with you and cry. They're going to sit with you and, you know, be happy. So whatever you're feeling, they're always going to help you feel better.
I feel like I can testify with these coping mechanisms because, well, my dad's a psychologist too, and he always talks about how mindfulness, meditation, nutrition, sleeping, especially sleeping, is such a good way for relieving stress, I guess. Looking at the bigger picture, and also focusing on like your strengths. I feel like sometimes we just focus on everything that's wrong, and we don't take in consideration the things that we've done right. So by doing it, you can realize that, hey, I'm not so much in trouble after all. Like, I've done all these good things. I need to reward myself too.
Exactly. That's wonderful. And so important that we do that. And it takes practice, right? The first time you try these coping skills, they might not feel normal or easy to do, but the more we practice them, the easier they get, right? And they start becoming habits. And so instead of having negative habits, we're creating these positive habits, right? Learning how to talk to ourselves positively, learning to remember the good parts of our lives, learning to take deep breaths when we're feeling anxious or worried or nervous, and those are all just, and I'm reading some of the coping skills that you guys are mentioning in the chat, and those are all absolutely wonderful, and I want you to keep doing that.
Yeah, no, I just want to add to that. So for my team, what I do is, since we meet every week, what I do is like at the end of everything, when we're done talking about organizing, when we're talking about planning, when we're done with all that, we just talk. We just like, hey, how's your week going? Hey, how are you doing? And I don't know if other teams do this, but I feel like that's very important because sometimes someone needs it. Someone needs it and you don't even know it. And I feel that talking with your team helps a lot. And I feel like it's something we should do because maybe they don't have somebody else to rely on, but they have the team. And if someone brings it up, maybe they're more willing and it'll help them a lot more, especially coming from people they already talked to, who they're used to working with. So I recommend that for any other teams.
That's wonderful. Yes, and I agree 100%.